Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Dexter's Diary. Today I want to talk about validation. It's been a current theme for me and a lot of people I've spoken to recently, and I think we all in some way, form, or fashion seek validation from people that we care about, from our peers. Some of us are rebels and we don't give a fuck. And it's cool. But one thing I do want to address is when seeking validation, consider the source. A lot of times in our lives, like, we go through things and people will just tell us to get over it, and they'll just basically dismiss what we're going through, and or they'll validate it or invalidate it depending on how it affects them. So when you're going through this process, really consider the source and figure out, is this person credible? Because if they're validating me, is it to their benefit? If they're invalidating me, is it to their benefit? Growing up, I told you guys in my first video that I had been in foster care. And for the longest time, a lot of people are like, oh, just get over it. It'll go away, this, that, and third. And why are you still harping on this? Why you just can't leave it alone? Whatever. And it's just like, dude, I left home at 13. Do you really think that 5 years later, 6 years later, that I'm just over it? And for the sake of mending fences, there was a point in time where I did try going back home. To see, it was tentative at first, just to see. We hadn't really spoken about anything. We hadn't really addressed anything. But at the same time, like, I was a growing girl. I wanted my mother. I wanted my mother, and I wanted some type of relationship. Like, I would walk in the streets and I would see other women, other girls with their parents, and it was something I knew was missing from my life. And I was trying to figure out, how do I go about this? And so we tried. We gave it the old college effort, and it was horrible. It was horrible. It was one of the worst things. But it also let me know that there was work that needed to be done, and I was willing, but were they willing? Was she willing? And I'm a straight shooter. I'm not trying to slander one side to make my side look better, or vice versa. Like, it's just not happening. It just didn't pan out, and people would come to me and they'd be like, just try to let it go, just this, that, and third. And I was looking to other people to validate my feelings, because I'm like, this pain is real. What I'm feeling is real. Like, this whole situation is real. And so I sat down and I wrote, like, this, it might have been like 13 to 20 pages, right? A letter to my mother. And and I'm thinking, like, okay, if we can't get through it verbally, maybe reading it will give you a different aspect. Sometimes, it slows it down, and you're entitled to take what you feel from whatever is written, right? And so I mailed the letter, and I'm just like, all right, let's see what happens. And, like, weeks go by, and by this time I'm like 21, 22. And weeks go by, and I finally get a letter back in the mail, and she's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but this is something that you basically made up. Like, this is your own imagination. And it was like a punch in the gut. It was like, you really think that I have a great imagination, but you really think that I would sit here and conjure up this whole scenario and go through all this because it's something I wanted to go through? Which is basically what she said. Like, I just wanted to leave home, and so I made this whole story up, and now I have to deal with it. So I'm one of those people that you only get it once. Like, I'm not taking no shorts. So I was like, okay, it was my imagination. Okay. Even my best friend at the time was like, yo, you should just let it go. Like, she's basically, she's not going to come around and this, and I'm just like, no, if no one else is going to validate me, I'm going to validate me, because the pain is real. The hurt is real. Every experience that I've endured is real. You cannot, no one will not tell me that mine is not real. My anger is real. Like, this does not stem from some fairy tale that I've created, and like I'm the evil stepmother and I'm Cinderella. That's not it. Like, it's real. So I decided to stand my ground, and I was just like, until you acknowledge that it is what it is, until you want to sit down and really have a conversation about this, then there's nothing for us to talk about. I will ignore your very existence. And it's not to say that's the best way. I'm just saying this is the way that I went about it. Like, it was the best way for me, because to sit and be in contact and act as if it wasn't real was too painful for me. It was not a reality that I can endure. It was not a reality that I was willing to play out at all. So I stood my ground. Like, it is what it is. There's nothing for us to talk about. At this point, I extended many olive branches, and I felt like I kept getting slapped in the face. And I'm using this as an example, but there's plenty of other examples where I felt like I've had to stand my ground, because I'm going to stand in my truth. And I think that's the most important thing about validation, is standing in your own truth. Like, if you're upset about a situation with a significant other, with a family member, with a friend, and they refuse to see your standpoint in it, or your point of view about it, don't just lay down. Like, I think that's one of the things that really saved my life in many ways. Like, I just wasn't willing to lay down. I wasn't willing to just take the L for the sake of taking the L. Like, had I done that, then I would have still been home. And who knows how that situation would have played out, because we were getting to the point where things were really getting manic on my end, because at this point I was just like, I'm not taking this anymore, and I'm growing. So you're not going to do what you feel you can do, because you're a parent, and I'm not going to take it because I'm a child. And so it's been a common thread in my life, in relationships and friendships, in jobs, to a certain extent. I just, and maybe to a fault. I'm learning. I'm learning. It's an experience. I'm learning, but I still stand really strong from that standpoint. Like, don't just lay down and take it. Don't just let people tell you that your shit is not real. Don't let anybody tell you that your shit is not real. And if you have to compromise yourself for other people, then that situation is not real. Because if you love me, you wouldn't want me to compromise myself just to appease you. And you know the situation is incorrect. You know that it's wrong. So long story short, she came to me. She, out of the blue, she texted me, and I guess at this point she realized that I was serious. Like, I'm not doing this. And truth be told, we're not getting any older. And yeah, you know, you get older, your parents get older, and it's the truth. That's the way it goes. Eventually we expire, and that's that. But you know, you want to work things out as best as you can in the time that we have, because things aren't promised. And so she did come to me, and I'm like, all right, if we're gonna talk on my terms. We're gonna do this on my terms, because when I tried to do it on your terms, it wasn't received well. So now you're gonna do it on my terms, and that's that. And we had the conversation, and some hard truths were told, some hard apologies were given, and we've been able to move forward in that. So I say all this to say, again, and not all, not all experiences, not all situations are going to end on such a positive note. Like, it's just, that's just the way it works. Like, some people they're going to stand their ground even though they know they're wrong. Or they're not going to give you the win because they're just not going to give it to you, and they don't want to see you win. It is what it is. And you got to take that for what it is. But that doesn't compromise your truth. That does not compromise your standpoint. That does not invalidate your self-validation. Like, you should always, always, always be rooting for self. This humility thing, this self-sacrifice thing, vanity and standing my ground has saved my life. Because if I turn the other cheek, and if I chose to be humble and, like, and let people walk all over me and tell me that my shit wasn't real, that I was incapable of being anything other than what I am, any greater than what I was, or, oh, you're this, you're a fucked up person, you're that. Like, everybody got something to say, everybody got something to manipulate you. All these strings they're pulling because they want to use you for what they want to use you for. And I say, fuck that. I do what I feel like I have to do for myself. So validate yourself, okay? Don't wait for other people to come in and tell you things. And the truth of the matter is, you know people are lying to you. You know people are using you. And you still stay and you still do the dumb shit because for what? Because you want a friend? Because you want a boyfriend? Because you want a girlfriend? No one should have that much control over your life. Not your parents, not a lover, not a homie lover friend, not your kids. No one has the right to treat you like shit. No one has the right to tell you that everything you feel means nothing. No one. Take the L for no one. Validate yourself. Do what you gotta do for self. Because after you, there's nothing. And if you weren't there, they'd be doing it to somebody else. Trust me. People are opportunists. And there's nothing wrong with opportunity. If opportunity knocks, get up on it. But I'm just saying, sorry, that wasn't my tooth. I'm just saying, validate yourself. Don't let anyone come in and tell you anything different. Like, if you want to sing to the top of your lungs. Don't let nobody tell you you can't sing. If you're fat and you want to wear a belly top, don't let nobody tell you you can't wear a belly top. If you're skinny and you want to wear poom poom shorts, don't let nobody tell you you can't do that. If you want to be Thurgood Marshall, then do that. Whoever you want, whatever, do it. Don't let anyone come in and tell you that your shit is not valid. You're a person too, just like everybody else. So on that note, I'll see you later.